Telkom SA will pay a dividend for the first time in 4 years. It declared an ordinary final dividend of 215 cents per share and a special dividend of 30 cents per share. Headline earnings per share rose by 60%, while net debt decreased by nearly 93%. Our reporter Liabo Setho attended Telkom's results presentation earlier today, and she's going to inform us about more. It's over to you, Liabo.
Gunther, well, all I can tell you is that Telkom shareholders are a very, very happy bunch today. Of course, since 2011, Telkom has been able to declare a final dividend of around 245 cents per share. And this gives us a good indication of how the turnaround strategy has been working for the group. Overall, the group obviously has performed very, very well since Mr. Sipho Maseko has taken at the helm. This is why we're seeing these kind of results coming through. But I have the man who is behind the Telkom machine, who makes sure that they get the kind of results that they got today. Mr. Sipho Maseko, good afternoon, and thank you very much for your time.
Good afternoon, Liabo. Thanks for the time.
You must be very pleased with the progress that you've made thus far. I mean, giving your shareholders a dividend that you have not been able to give them since 2011 should be quite a good feeling.
Well, sure, but it also shows that we are making progress. I'm encouraged about it, but we are not going to declare victory yet. There's still a lot more to do. But one of the things that we did was that given our recent performance, at least let us reward our shareholders with a dividend in two parts. The first part is a base dividend of 2.15 cents. And then we added a special dividend of 30 cents, precisely recognizing that over the last 4 years, we've not declared a single cent on dividends.
Do you expect this trend to continue? Because obviously it boosts morale. Do you expect that you'll be paying dividends in the next coming financial
Well, normally dividends are informed by how the company performs. So one of the things that we've guided the market around was that we will always look at how the company is performing, and therefore how do we then make sure that our shareholders are rewarded. But we respect our shareholders. The first people that we exist for is our shareholders, because they give capital to us every year, and we need to make sure that we return to them far much more than they gave us. So we are encouraged. It's something that we would like to retain, but obviously it depends on the fundamental performance of the business going forward.
Generally, you are operating in a very, very challenging condition or environment. Competition has increased, costs have increased, but you've been able to contain your costs very, very well. You've been able to squash debt in the process, but reducing headcount has been something that has been in the news, and it seems to have worked for Telkom, but surely it's not the only way of reducing costs in a company.
No, absolutely. So one of the things that we've looked at is not just reducing headcount, but we've also looked at our procurement spend. So we've gone to all of our suppliers. We've actually made them to give us discounts, because also the customers that we serve tell us they want a discount. So if I go to SABC, who are a lovely client to Telkom, they say to me, Sipho, please reduce your costs by 5%. So I've got to do that. So therefore, I have to do the same thing to our customers. Our industry is a very funny one, because people expect to get higher speeds, better quality broadband for less. So they want to pay a lot less than they paid last year. So all the time you need to make sure that anything that looks like inefficiency or smells like inefficiency in the company, you take it out. So what we have therefore defined for ourselves is that we need to have what we call a multi-year cost efficiency strategy. Every year we need to make sure that our costs are better than the year before. Managing energy costs, managing transport costs, managing vehicle lease costs, reducing the amount of space that we use to make sure that we pay a lower rental. So all of those things are in the mix. It's not just headcount.
I'm glad you mentioned earlier on about what customers look for, and that it's high speed at a lower cost that they're looking for. And you'll agree with me that Telkom has been criticized for its services. How far are you with your plans to roll out faster speed?
Sure. And we are on track. Actually, last year we invested 5 billion rand to modernize our network, to make sure that people can get a more reliable speed, but also they're able to get to maximum speeds possible. And we'll continue to invest going forward. our guidance was that we'll probably spend between 16 to 18% of revenue as capex, which therefore means that our spend will be north of 5 billion again in modernizing the network. But we are not just looking at fiber. There's also LTE, which is a wireless solution. You can get up to 60 megabits per second around LTE. What can you do with that? You can stream stuff. You can do a whole lot of different things. So the investment thesis for Telkom continues. Modernizing the network, investing in newer technologies so that people can stream more, they can go on YouTube, they can watch movies, they can do a whole lot of different things. So for us, that becomes a key enabler in making sure that we can democratize broadband in South Africa. Because not only should the people in Houghton have great broadband, but the people in Diepkloof and Garankuwa and Mamelodi should also equally have good quality broadband they can use.
During the presentation, Mr. Maseko, it was mentioned that electricity continues to be one of the costs that are eating up into the business revenue, and we are obviously expecting costs to go up this year in July and going forward. Do you know how you're going to be maneuvering around that?
Sure. I mean, the energy issue is a big issue for us because as costs increase, we are not able to pass that cost on to our consumers. Our consumers don't want to pay for it. So we need to find a way in which we can save costs elsewhere so that we can be able to absorb that cost. That's the first thing. The second thing is to also look at what are the other energy generating options that we have. So, for instance, we'll be making a big investment on solar and solar capacity to support our data centers. We're also looking to find ways and means in which we can save energy in our exchange buildings and our mast and towers. So we're looking at a number of options: energy efficiency, renewable energy, and just optimizing how we use it in a way that is pretty efficient. But clearly, we can't pass that cost on to our consumers. We need to find, therefore, different ways in which we can manage that cost.
Mr. Maseko, I'm afraid we don't have much time left.
Thank you.
But thank you very much for availing yourself to speak to us.
Thank you very much.
We wish you all the best in the future.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Gunther, well, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time to go through all the issues, but what I have picked up is that Telkom is a company that's definitely destined for greater heights. They try very, very much to contain their costs. They're trying to make sure that the shareholders remain happy, and at the same time trying to make sure that their customer operations, their business operations, they still remain efficient. We will have more of this story in our later bulletins later today.